guest is Ian Penman from Sunderland, and I asked him to name the artist, the album, and the track.
This is Michael Nesmith, son of Shelley's Blues, from pretty much your standard line Stash, which was issued last year.
Why Nesmith? What's the attraction with him for you?
I've followed Michael Nesmith for quite a while now, from the Monkees days, at first very scathingly, but then when I went a bit further, I found that he was an excellent songwriter and that his tracks on the Monkees LPs were very good indeed. So when he split from the Monkees in about '69, I awaited his solo records with great interest. He's made 6 solo LPs, and for me, Nesmith has got the ability to put into words what most of us feel but can't express. He has got, to use a cliche, great soul, great feeling. An entire track can convey a feeling. It's not the lyrics, especially. It's just the entire way it's put over.
When the Monkees were first constructed, I think, rather than formed, is perhaps the way to put it, he was the one who had the musical ability, wasn't he? I mean, he'd actually been a musician, and he actually did play his guitar and things, and it is quite extraordinary in a sense that a talent like his should emerge from what was basically a fairly artificial plastic group like the Monkees.
I think they started the Monkees off with 2 actors and 2 musicians. Davy Jones and Mickey Dolenz were actors. Peter Tork and Michael Nesmith were musicians. And they attempted to balance this out so that eventually all 4 became actors and all 4 became musicians. But I think they succeeded in the first category, but not in the second one.
Do you think Nesmith has found the Monkees tag a hindrance at all? I mean, are you aware that he might perhaps be embarrassed by his connection?
He is in no way embarrassed by it. I saw Nesmith about a year ago in London at the Roundhouse, and he spoke of the Monkees days, not embarrassing at all, as being a completely different artificial situation that was interesting to be in. He's not embarrassed by it. For one thing, he has made 6 LPs on RCA, which haven't sold very much, and yet RCA continue to let him make LPs, whereas if somebody makes, say, one LP that doesn't sell too much, they don't really get too much chance to make another one, let alone 5 more.
So the record company's got faith in him, clearly.
I think what it was, they had him signed up to quite a long-term contract, and despite the fact that a couple of years ago he formed his own countryside record label, he couldn't be on it because he was tied up to RCA. He hasn't produced anything record-wise for about 18 months now, so I keep scanning the import charts, but
let's talk about this particular track then. You've chosen Ian. Why this track?
Some of Shelley's Blues is a song that Nesmith has had around for quite a while. You may remember about 2 or 3 years ago, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band had a version out that Tony Blackburn chose his record of the week, in fact. And
it must have been bad.
No, it was all right.
That was a weak joke.
Yes, it was a good pop version of a good song, and I thought, well, that's pretty good. I'm sure Nesmith can't improve on that. But when I first got pretty much your standard line Stash, I thought that he hadn't. But it's a song that really grows on you. It's got an amazing power, an amazing atmosphere. It's got a great maturity that I can't really explain. Even the strumming that starts it off, it can only be a couple of chords, yet it's really powerful for some reason. A reason that perhaps I can't really explain. I know this is intentional because Nesmith has tried on every one of his 6 solo albums to put this track down, and he spent, so I'm told, somewhere in the region of $50,000 with this track, and he's had at least 6 goes. So this is obviously the one he feels is the right one, and I think I agree with him.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Ian. We'll now listen to this $50,000 track, which really must be quite good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you given any instruction about lighting?
No, just turn the lights on. It's instructions.
Light, bright, dark, flashing?
No, light on.
Bright. You want it bright?
Just on, yeah. Ready? Can we do
You
it?
want to leave it for another 5 minutes or so, because there's still people coming in.
Still?
Well, they're drifting in because the bar's closing very soon. So rather than have people drifting in while you're out, you'd rather have them in. 5 minutes. Well, you're home.
All right.
Given any instructions about lighting?
No, just turn the lights on. It's the instructions.
Light, bright, dark, flashing?
No, light on.
Bright. You want it bright?
Just on, yeah.
The pair involved in this Morecambe Wise routine are Michael Nesmith and his British agent, Paul Fenn. The occasion is backstage at the University of Essex at Colchester, just before Michael is due on. Ask him why he's so imprecise, and you get what appears to be an equally imprecise answer.
The nature of things.
What do you mean by that? The nature of things.
It never is anything less than terribly precise, but it occurs to be, or occurs as being very imprecise. And this is an absolute answer. How do you want the light? The absolutely, perfectly precise, paralogical answer to that is on.
The tour is Michael's first of Britain, and he explains the reasons behind it.
Primarily, it's to expose the new work, the prison unit. And that's basically it. Just solicited some dates, get a little exposure.
This is college dates rather than any other sort of dates. Why college dates in particular?
Well, I don't really have a tremendous amount of pick and choose at this point. More or less play where the traffic will bear it.
Paul Fenn gives us some more details.
He's going to be doing 6 live shows, radio interviews like yourself, about 3 or 4 stations, and about two live radio shows, or 2 shows on the radio where he's actually playing.
How did the series of shows be set up? I mean, did Michael contact you? Did you contact
No,
him?
what happened originally was I don't know if you know, he played over in April at the Victoria Palace, which sold out, and I got involved because the promoter couldn't get work permits organised, so he asked me to do it. And then a date became available at the Drury Lane Theatre Royal for end of November, and he said to me, well, I'm going to offer it to Nesmith. Do you want to do some university dates? And we said, by all means. So I called Michael, offered him this sort of series of dates, which he took. And as you know, he's in now. It turned out that it's because he had this album, The Prison, coming out, that he wanted to come over to set the deal up for the distribution of it. And we just sort of rang every university, and some came because someone had cancelled, some came because they wanted Michael Nesmith, some came because they wanted a show that night.
Included amongst the provincial dates of Nottingham, Colchester, Sheffield and Brighton was Belfast. Paul Fenn.
The guy over there knew that we were booking out Nesmith and said, does he want to come? So I said, well, ask him. And he doesn't seem particularly bothered one way or the other, so he's going over there.
Michael tells us how things had gone.
Yeah, everybody was very upset about the fact that I had played Belfast. It was interesting.
Why was that?
Well, just...
Upset for you? Or?
Yeah, scared, you know, a certain amount of fear.
Didn't you feel scared yourself? I mean, being a well-known figure, that some lunatic might try to do something?
No, I never really had that fear. I began to have a certain amount of fear when I got there, because the magnitude of the struggle is certainly big. But there wasn't any real fear ever.
Did that fear affect the date you played? I mean, did it affect the way you felt, the way the audience felt, the general atmosphere?
Well, you can't be in a situation like that without it having some effect. It'd be difficult for me to assess exactly what that effect was. I'm sure it had some effect, but I don't know precisely what.
Well, how were you received in Belfast? I mean, were the audiences responding to what you were doing?
Seemed to be. It was a very warm audience, a very nice evening, and there was a man on before me singing traditional Irish folk ballads, and he was well received, and so there were some nice things happening. It was nice.
Obviously, audience reaction to a performer can vary greatly, as can an artist's performance. Which date did Michael feel was the best?
They've been all about the same. They're all about the same to me, although in terms of the reaction and everything, I had a nice concert at Brighton, I think. But concerts are a strange situation anyway to assess, you know. I mean, it's a rather intriguing phenomena anyway. You go and you sit in a room and one person behaves in a certain fashion and everybody else observes that behavior and then decides whether or not that behavior has some sort of meaning to it, and then whether that meaning brings them pleasure or whether it is not bringing them pleasure. And so it's just an odd kind of a social thing that we do.
So do you vary your performance to suit the audience, or do you perform exactly at the same show each night?
It varies. It has to, because of the nature of the audience and the nature of the show and the nature of the thought that's controlling all of us. It just has to vary. But it isn't a variation so that I begin to in one moment do some kind of Yes material or start playing Beatles tunes, you know, or do stand-up comedy. I mean, there's a certain thread through the whole thing.
Most performers tend to drag masses of PA equipment with them. How much was Michael using? Paul Fenn.
Not whatsoever. I mean, it's purely acoustic. I mean, most artists, you say, well, if you get there at 4 o'clock, you can do a sound check. Michael arrived in town and we said, well, what time do you want to get to the gig? He said, oh, I'll turn up at 8, 9 o'clock. I said, well, what about the sound check? So, well, if it's no good, it's too late to do anything about it. The only problem is he's bringing in Red Rhodes, his steel player, for the London show, and we just had to sort out getting the equipment for Red, getting amplifiers and rehearsal studios, and 2 other musicians, Dave Pegg and Dave Maddox.
But the sort of equipment that something like Nesmith will need to do an acoustic set, and how do you know that it's going to be there? I mean, are you...
Well, we need just 2 microphones,
yes.
PA, which we're just telling all the venues to make sure there's a PA supplied. They're usually using the support acts. Last night. And,
so there's no mixer or anything?
Well, there's a mixer, but it's a very simple mixer. I mean, it just needs 2 channels.
Was that somebody from you, or is it just somebody who's
there?
Yeah.
I mean, on this tour, there's no budget available really to sort of supply a big 16-channel mixer. It's not necessary. It's a very intimate show anyway. If you're doing the sort of like the other tours we do, where you need a sort of 24-channel mixer, then you're talking about paying out £200 a night to hire PA and staff to use it. But on this tour, if you pay out £200 a night, it doesn't leave Michael with very much.
But did Michael feel that this method of working left him at the mercy of other people's equipment?
Well, I don't ever feel at the mercy of anything, and that's because there is a fundamental, basic trust that it's going to work out. In order for that to occur, one needs to eliminate the kind of overriding fear of death, which pervades most everybody's thought. That's right, fear of death is the same thing as maybe the sound system won't work. It all boils down to the same thing. Somebody's going to destroy me.
So in other words, you feel that it's out of your hands anyway, even if you did bring your own sound system.
Precisely. Well, I feel like that the only way that mind expresses itself intelligently, and is doing it all the time.
Michael Nesmith on stage is an experience that transcends the songs he plays. He talks almost as much as he sings. There's a great feeling of depth and fulfillment to the whole event. Nesmith himself tends to be very self-effacing about this. When asked, replies that all he's doing is
playing a few songs.
No, I think it's more than that. I think this is the Michael Nesmith that you were talking about. It's not just playing a few songs. And I'm sure you know it isn't.
Well, I know, I am aware of what you were talking about, but I'm only aware of what you were talking about because you were talking about it.
Yeah, but I'm sure I'm not the first person to talk to you about it. And you're not unaware of it.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. But my entire access to the information is from outside. It's people talking to me about it. People say, a guy came to me the other day before the Brighton concert. He said, "I understand you're into a religious trip," and that was very interesting to me. I mean, what did he mean by that? And so I asked him, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, just that you adopt some sort of posture, you have some sort of philosophy that you're espousing, or something that you're doing, some sort of quasi-religious, or maybe absolutely religious, or some sort of situation that is occurring, and that you're really on a path of enlightenment or commitment." And I said, "Gee, well, no, I hate to be a..." If he was looking for that, I don't know, he might have been looking to puncture some balloons. But I was unable to say anything to him other than, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Although, I do know what he was talking about because he explained to me what he was talking about, just like you explained it to me, just like other people explained it to me. And in a funny way, there's a sort of a focus that comes with that kind of attention that isn't very good, that's kind of withering, you know, and has a tendency to be burdensome. And so there's a consistent activity to let that attention go. And I guess it is the activity that is letting that go is the only awareness that I have of it. But just that we're talking about. And when I begin to develop the knowledge of this something, this essence, from a letting it go standpoint, you see, I sort of have an inverse picture of it, and that coupled with the information I'm getting from people around. But in terms of having some sort of conscious trip go down, the only conscious trip I've got going down is just consciousness itself.
The culmination of the tour was the London concert, the first half of which he played with a band consisting of Red Rose on pedal steel, Dave Pegg from Fairport Convention on bass, Dave Mattox, ex-Fairport, on drums, and Steve Leach on lead guitar. The show was on Sunday night, and rehearsals took place on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. Here's a little of Sundays.
I figured doing 90 minutes.
Why don't you just say here's the mode? Individually, you guys, if you think the dance a little limelight,
is created and you must live with it. I think I'll just so it starts at 7. Don't be advertised. Yeah, well, they do so. I don't get
A poor recording, but you get the idea. How did the one-date band come together? Steve Leach starts off by telling us how he became involved.
Michael's a friend of mine from America, and I was over in Paris doing an album, and I came to visit my friends in Enfield, and I found out that Michael was in town, and we got together and decided to play. It was real simple, you know, he's just a friend, like his music.
Well, how about you, Dave and Dave?
Well, when he was here last year, I was playing with Bryn Howard, and Bryn was a support act to Michael. And we got talking afterwards, and this was sometime this year. I don't know, April would be, something like that. Around about that time, middle of the year. And about, I think, 2-3 weeks ago, he called me up from Los Angeles and said that he was coming over with Red, and would I be interested in playing for him? Did I know a bass player? And being as how I know Dave Pegg had such a lot of money, I was forced to
Only Red had played in concert with Michael before. Steve was fairly familiar with his music as they played together in each other's houses and so on. The Daves were less well acquainted with the material, so had they gone out and listened to the records before they came along to the rehearsal?
No.
He didn't want us to do that.
He didn't want us to do that. He just wanted us to sit around and attempt to work from there. We had a rehearsal yesterday, and we've rehearsed this afternoon.
So how much rehearsal is that altogether?
Very little.
Not enough.
I can't think I really like some more, but he wants it, inverted commas, loose. Loose he's going to get it.
How exactly are you doing? Are you working from chords or by ear or what?
Bad memory.
I seem to notice that you all had bits of paper with the chords.
I've got no chords written out because I have a very bad memory.
A lot of the chords sort of follow, you know, I mean, most of the songs are fairly easy. I think it's more the feeling of the song, you know, Michael. They're not complicated songs or anything like that. They're just good songs.
What sort of a direction has Michael put on you? I mean, has he said, play this, this and this, and he's left it more up to you?
No, the opposite. More, we want, you know, more I want you to play how you react to this song, as opposed to I want you to play this fill and this lick.
Things hadn't been going too well for Red Rose. His pedal steel kept snapping strings, one of which bounced off my forehead. So, what was the problem?
I'm in a different tuning than I normally am. Because that dumb guitar out there keeps breaking that string, so I lowered everything a whole tone. And it's still breaking strings.
Yeah. In fact, you've been having some health problems as well.
Well, that was because I took some sleeping pills on the plane to sleep for the trip and reacted badly to it.
But you feel okay now?
I feel all right. I took the knife out of my chest, and it's not in there anymore, so it feels good.
While Michael and band have been loose and reacting to each other, Catherine, Mrs. Nesmith, has been busy, more or less acting as concert manager. What's she been doing?
We're recording the concert, and so I've been trying to make sure that is underway and getting a sound check and doing that, and just looking at the lighting, making sure the lighting looks good, and seeing that there aren't any flaws. If we can avoid any before the concert, then it should go smoother and leave the music making to the musicians. So.
The road crew and sound men come from the man band, complete with Dick Leonard sitting around, drinking Coke, looking at the prison booklet, and not saying much. Catherine explains why the Welsh Wizards are in attendance.
They were arranged from the promoter, which is John Curd. And so they were working with the people that we've hired to do the recording and making sure that their sound and their microphones can be common, if possible, with the ones that we're using for the recording, and just trying to make sure there aren't any conflicts.
What sort of last-minute difficulties have you had?
Haven't had any.
Yeah?
It's gone very smoothly.
And smooth it was a couple of hours later when the show got underway. On Nesmith's insistence, he introduced the band separately before they played, and then off they went. Dave Pegg looked a bit unsure and glanced at his bits of paper a couple of times, but generally he chugged along moodily. Dave Maddox played it fairly safe on drums. He didn't make any mistakes, but he never really took off either. Leach and Rhodes were more sure of what they were doing, and both seemed able to relate to Nesmith's strident, plugged-in acoustic, although they didn't seem to interact too much with each other. Still, they worked pretty well, considering they'd had less than a full day's rehearsal. After an hour of band and an interval, Nesmith returned by himself and did a few songs from And the Hits Just Keep On Coming and most of The Prison. Nesmith doesn't do encores, which the audience realized, so they quickly filtered out into the night, happy to have seen something that they thought they'd never seen. Michael Nesmith performing in Britain with a band. Nesmith seemed happy with how things had gone, in contrast to how he'd felt about the other dates.
I've been having some second thoughts about these concert dates. No, not second thoughts. The concert dates have been grueling, these particular ones.
In what way?
Well, they've been grueling from the standpoint of it being very difficult to maintain a certain rapport, a certain communication. There seems to be a distance that doesn't allow it.
Is that because some of the people that you play to wouldn't be familiar with them too, do you reckon? Or what?
Well, the familiarity doesn't come really from knowing the material. The familiarity comes with the willingness to accept new ideas.